What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I am RD. Welcome to ICE Enterprises. It is July 12th, 2020. Got a pretty good show for you today. But before we begin, I'm going to go ahead and need you to subscribe. Not so much like and share, but I'm going to go ahead and need you to subscribe. So I put together a manual. It's a counter plan to the Covi-Tracer. And we're going to go down the list. SOP for the American Patriot, Information Warrior. That's what we are in this new battle space. Counter plans to the Covi-Tracer and COVID tracking. So first off, what is this COVID-Tracer thing? Well, Apple and Google, which are globalists, created the COVID-19 tracker, how it works, and how is it safe. Last Friday, Apple and Google, the world's two largest developers, globalist companies of smartphone operating systems, announced an unusual collaboration to develop a COVID-19 tracking system that aims to notify people when they may have been exposed to the virus, and if done well, could effectively contain the pandemic and get back to normal life. So the reason I'm creating this, just to give you a little back story, St. Louis City and St. Louis County are back to actually mandated something even worse than it was during the lockdown. Now every business you enter, if you're in the county or the city limits, you have to wear a mask. So a couple of days ago, I had to go get I had to refill my flip phone and get a get a calling card, which I couldn't enter at Walmart. I had to get a Walmart. I had to drive like 30 minutes south to another county. So it just goes to show you that we don't have all day to get into the COVID-19, 101 and all the bullshit it surrounds us. Yeah, there's positives? Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the air quality has gotten a lot better. People aren't driving as much. Everybody's, making virtual calls, calling over the internet. So stuff like that. But, that's about it. Let's see. It's the point that it's under a fake, all this is done. You understand it's just political. They're trying to steal the election by getting most people to not come out and use mail-in balloting. Let's see. There's another interesting thing. If you have installed a COVID-19 contact tracing app from the local public health organization, manually permitted it to use Google and Apple's exposure notifications API. The option of the menu won't be grayed out without you installing an app. The feature is disabled and cannot work. Okay, this article here shows you how to, let's see, select delete random IDs. This shows you how to disable it on Google, but we're not even going to get into that. It uses Bluetooth beacon information, which is kind of interesting. Delete random IDs to remove any anonymous Bluetooth beacon information that your handset has recorded, or tape. Turn off exposure notifications to disable contact tracing feature entirely. So that's how you get rid of it, supposedly. Here it talks about how they're using Bluetooth. In this version of the system set to roll out next month, the operating system level Bluetooth tracing will allow users to opt into a Bluetooth-based proximity detection scheme when they download a contact tracing app. Their phone would then constantly ping out Bluetooth signals to other nearby while also listening for communications from nearby phones. So that's actually a huge security risk. Do you realize how easy it is to basically spoof the master Bluetooth device and then have devices automatically connecting to that? It's real easy. It's easier than spoofing a Wi-Fi signal. What is an API? Application Programming Interface. So you know, that's what it is. Close that out. But I've came up with this is a living document. It's going to be designed to be, you know, we're going to be just putting out new drafts, you know, once every year, once every 6 months. It is called the Ghost Manual, first draft, 7/12/2020. Mobile disclaimer: this is not 100% secure. The point is to not make it easy. Basically, the mandate is mobile must be prepaid flip phone. In your home must be Linux machine. So let's jump right into it. Phone number tracking. Okay, you understand phone numbers, just the number in itself can be located, and it can provide name and location. So you really kind of want to go without a phone number and a phone entirely. But if you have to make a call out, I understand if you need it for business purposes, or if you break down on the side of the road. This same concept of tracking a phone number can also be applied to the email and text messages. Okay, mandate, mobile must be prepaid flip, home must be Linux machine. Now I do want to, I am going to turn this into a PDF and try to put it on Twitter. That way it can be passed around. When I get my website up and running, I'll be posting this PDF on that as well. So number one, here it is. Boycott iOS and Google Android cell phones. Number two, purchase a prepaid flip phone. You can get those for like $35. Okay, $35. You have to pay. You have to pay in U.S. dollars, cash. Okay, now when you can go in, do not pay with your debit card. Pay cash when you buy it, and it will not be registered to you. You can, if you want to even take it up at another level, you can have your girlfriend or your wife or a friend go in, purchase it, come out, and give it to you. Number three, why flip versus prepaid smart? Okay, so here's the thing. Your flip phone is not secure. Okay, I want you to understand that, but it has a lot of benefits. I did a whole episode on this a long time ago. But compared to your smart has some very strong pros, but also has some extremely bad cons. So for this is the beginner's version, not intermediate or advanced. For right now, you're going to go with flip. Here's some of the benefits of the flip. The flip does not have proximity sensors. It doesn't have as many apps. It has like 20 apps, which means that none of them are going to be like sophisticated apps. Like you're not going to have like like Facebook. So it's not asking you for a lot of permissions like a smartphone does. And you only have like 20 of them, if that. I think it's like 10 actually, compared to a smart, which has about 100, 200 apps running constantly. It is now flip phone is written in a different OS and code. If you get I think Straight Talk flip phone runs under the Kai OS, which is actually built under the it's built by Mozilla Firefox, so it is actually open source. Okay, do not sign into any of your accounts. Do not use the internet feature. Gmail keeps a record of your devices when you sign into them. So if you sign into any of them, boom, it's going to register to that device. You want to use the flip phone for only text and calling. You can do that for about $35 a month. Unlimited text, 1,500 minutes calling. It should be more than enough. Let's talk about text. SMS is unsecure, and I want you to understand why. It's not because of SIM swapping or any of that other BS that they might be telling you. The reason it's unsecure is because it sends the text down the wire, and we call the wire the internet, in clear text. It's not encrypted or scrambled. it's in clear. So if anybody's intercepting it, and that's the same with like HTTP and the difference between HTTP and HTTPS is one's going down the wire in encryption, the other one's going down in clear text. And that's the same as email. You have to understand if it's not encrypted email, it is going down the wire in clear text. And email, you really don't even want to use at all. Or, any of these versions. Flip is tracked by the IMEI. Now, what is that? It's the International Mobile Equipment Identity. This you can't change. It's basically its own unique is a number usually unique to identify the mobile phone. But the good news is that you even though it's tracking this particular IMEI, the phone in itself is still not being tracked by you individually. Now there's all kinds of ways to hack a phone that's actually out on the market today. Now, one way I can still link you to that phone is possibly speech recognition. So once you've actually spoken into the phone, your particular voice is been stored in multiple databases. Also, your contact information. That's your social network. It can pretty much assign it to you. I want to show you this here. This is called the Ant Catalog. This has this was leaked. This NSA used to have these as surveillance tools for one of their I think tailored access units or something like that. It's basically NSA does have actually ground surveillance units called tailored access units, I think. Anyway, this is some of the tools that they would use. They could intercept mobile phones. Here's the cell phones. See, these are all script kiddies. And this is equipment one can use. This is all available on the market right now for anybody to purchase. And allows you to hack into phones. These are all different types. See this right here? Mimic GCM cell tower of a target network. See? This is all readily available. This is called the Ant Catalog. NSA Ant Product Catalog. This device is called a Cyclone H9. So let's see. Typhoon HX, network in a box, support GCM bands. I don't know, it looks like a Stingray or something. Let's see what this is. Genesis. Covert SIGINT transceiver. Commercial GCM handset that has been modified to include a software-defined radio SDR, additional system memory. The internal SDR allows a witting user to covertly perform network surveys, record RF spectrum, or perform handset location in hostile environments. Fascinating. Okay, so getting back to the manual. Now, so you just want to understand it's real basic. The flip phone is basic. You can take the battery out. It doesn't have a bunch of apps that you're going to sign into that requires you to sign into. There's no proximity sensors. There's no, facial recognition, voice recognition apps. None of that's taken off. It's real basic. You're just using it for text and calling. But I want you to understand the negatives about it is that your text, you don't really even want to use text, but the text, it's using an SMS feature. It's not encrypted. So it's going down the wire in clear text. Now, with the flip, your IME is being tracked. You are being triangulated. The device in itself is, which is being operated by the cellular ISP company. That anybody has NSA or the federal branches, FBI, Homeland, they all have access to that. One of the bad things too, though, is you cannot hide your IP or your Mac. You cannot change the DNS server. You can't encrypt any of your files. You can't install AV software. You can't install text encryption. So, that's what you're getting at, but that's what you're going to want to get. It doesn't have Covi trackers information on it. So you can still make a call. You can still make a text without all the intrusive, stuff that a smartphone has. Now here's the benefits of a smart prepaid. First off, let's just make something clear. If you're wasting your money on a $1,500 or $1,000 iOS phone, or a $1,000 Galaxy Note 10 phone, you really just need a $100 prepaid smartphone. It's the same software. It does everything the same. The Galaxy might have, a brand new Galaxy might have, the hardware is, it's got a bigger hard drive, and it's got a faster processor, but, you don't need it. You don't really need all that. Okay, so the pros is that it's Android, which is a Linux distro. It can be rooted. Root just gives the user root access. Root access lets you change the MAC, the IP, spoofing, and you can change the IMEI. You can install VPN. You can install the Onion router, which is Tor browser. You can set up a proxy chain. That's real important. Let's talk about proxy chains for a minute. A proxy chain, I'm going to read this. Proxy chains. With Proxyfire, you can work through a chain of proxy servers. So that's important. Proxy server. Connection to a remote host will be formed sequentially from one proxy server to another. This mode can be useful when a remote host is only accessible through multiple proxies, or when Proxyfire is used to ensure a high level of anonymity. When working through a proxy chain, keep in mind the following. We're not going to read into that. But basically, it's kind of like, it's in a sense, it's kind of like a router. It's going to go to the router IP first and then to your machine IP. So it's kind of like a DMZ. It's a layer of, when you're making the call to the server, the client server relationship, the IP is going to go to the proxy first. So it's kind of like a neutral zone and then to the machine. So it gives you some added layers of anonymity. You can set up multiple proxies. So it's got to go, for example, you have to go through like 5 different IPs before it actually gets to your machine. Also, with a smartphone, you can change the DNS server, which everybody should be changing it, like 1.1.1.1. That's your DNS. If you don't change that, it's going to, your ISP is going to assign you a manual DNS, which all your search history gets stored for a certain amount of time on the DNS server. That's domain name system. You can install a file manager, a root manager. What that does on a smartphone is let you control the app on the system. So it gives you full control over each app that you can't have on your Flip. And the Flip, you really can't modify any of the coding. With the Smart, you can modify it. So you can remove a whole bunch of apps. You can, do all kinds of stuff to the apps. You can also encrypt the hard drive on a smartphone. You can install a whole bunch of network security tools and antivirus software. Antivirus software is not necessarily secure because the software in itself you're giving it access to your phone. Antivirus, all that does is it's scanning your system for signatures that, it's always looking for that give off, a signature of a malware or Trojan or virus. Viruses aren't even used anymore. Most of them are either worms or Trojans or rootkits and stuff like that. So that's the pros. Now, that sounds good, right? Yeah, it sounds good. But here's the problem. when you get to the cons, it's a really bad, a whole bunch of cons that almost just kind of voids out the smart. Okay, now here's the deal with the cons on a smartphone is that you're dealing with literally hundreds of apps. There's probably at least about 100 apps. Half of them are the ones that you know of that are on the desktop, and half of them are system apps. Now, all these apps, you don't really know what they're doing. And they require permissions like Facebook Messenger. And the problem is they've made it so convoluted that most of them, even when you flip them off, they either get flipped back or that there's multiple different ways to turn on your mics, your cameras. And what that does is if any app that has a permission is constantly listening, it collects speech recognition data, it collects the microphone, collects emotional recognition data, same with your camera, constantly watches, collects facial recognition data, emotional recognition data. It builds this whole profile on you based on your mic, based on your camera. Also, a lot of them have access to your files, which means access to your personal files and basically the machine itself. Contacts, access to your personal networks, that can be used for social engineering, et cetera, et cetera. Here's another bad thing. Smartphones have proximity sensors. It has body sensors, biometric sensors, which can measure your heartbeat, your body temperature. It's got eye tracking software. So when you give permissions from these cameras, it can be running eye tracking and eye gaze. Now, what they do is they build this whole profile on each person using the heartbeat, the body temperature, proximity sensors, eye tracking, your search, and it basically gets to the point where it can really kind of read your mind. It's also creates it very addictive. Also, here's another con. Most cell carriers will not support rooted phones, so that's kind of a problem. All apps must be regularly updated to patch security flaws. However, the install happens through your Google Play Store, and to use Google Play Store, you must have a Google account. So that's kind of an issue because you cannot go without these apps being regularly installed. But to keep them regularly installed, you got to go through Google Play. You see, that's how they get you. That's the catch right there. Now, that alone basically assigns you to the device. Now they're tracking you. It's one thing to track the device. It's another thing to assign you to the device. It's basically your phone is your chip. Now there is third-party app stores you can go to. What is this? Oh, okay. Here's third-party app stores that you can get at APQ Mirror, APK Pure, APK Updater, Aptoid. What is an APK? What is an APK file? A file with an APK file extension is an Android package that's used to distribute applications on Google's Android operating system. It's basically like a file, okay, file package. They call it an APK. But that's kind of an issue too because you're going to have to go to trustworthy third-party app stores. But a lot of them can be fishy, and then they're going to be. That's where they'll have the Trojans, and is through those third-party app stores. You also have to switch up your settings to a new on your account to allow third-party apps. So you really want to use the Google Play Store because it is the most secure. It has reputation scoring on each app that it puts on its store. It's been known to have rogue apps though that are designed strictly to be hacking apps that have gotten passed into Google Play, but it's rare. Now what you could do is you can ghost a Google Gmail account, which means you'll have to set up the account from a secure machine, which means if it's Windows machine and you're signed into your account, boom, the machine's already been registered to you. You create the Google account from that machine. It's already registered. You can't ghost yourself. It has to be done from a ghost machine, which means, it means a third party machine that, your friend's machine, or a machine that you've personally ghosted, like a Linux machine. My machine's Linux. It's not registered in my name. It's paid cash. But still, it's still hard though, because I've already signed into most of my accounts from this machine. So this machine's already been designated to belonging to me. It's virtually almost impossible to go completely 100% ghost. And believe me, I try it all the time. All this stuff I've actually tried and practiced into the field. I'm not bullshitting you. I'm not making this up. This is all from trial and error for the last 2 years. And then you'll have to use a flip phone, a prepaid flip phone, to verify the account. So that's how you have to ghost an account, a Gmail account. And lastly, they have the COVID tracking software. So that's downloaded through the internet. No matter if you're using cell service or a Wi-Fi service, whenever it's eventually going to link to the internet, which is the WAN, the wide area network, it's going to download that tracking software. We'll go in more depth about securing a smart prepaid later, because there's a lot to it. I can give you a step-by-step from, when the time you pay cash, and turning it on, and everything you got to switch off. Briefly, I forgot to write this down. Let's talk about a SIM card. A SIM card just carries that's just your service account, basically. So if you have Sprint, you can remove the SIM card. You can put it in a different phone. If you break your phone, you can remove the SIM card, and it's your phone number, basically. It's your phone number. It's not the device. It's your phone number and your account, your service account, basically, is what's on a SIM card. Some of the new ones now are making it to where you can't even remove a SIM card. They have to be applied. They're like welded into the phone now. So it just shows you it's all complete bullshit. Okay, that's the difference between your smart and your flip. For all intents and purposes right now, the mandate is flip. Okay. Now this is what you're going to do. All cameras must be covered with electrical tape on all your devices. Do you understand me? Number 5, mindset. Phone power up, position, and talking discipline. Your phone is only allowed to be powered up during business hours, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. After that, you want to power it down. If you're not using it, power it down. Okay. If you're traveling, power it down. If power it up only when you got to make calls. Every time it powers up, it's squawking basically to the tower, and it's going to ping. Your last known location is going to be from the nearest tower. Okay, let's talk. It's acting like a homing beacon. Okay, let's talk. And yeah, okay. So keep phone. Now you want to get in the mindset of where you're. Keep and count where it's at and what you're doing with it. You want to always be mindful of when you're talking in your conversation, if your phone is nearby. If you're having a conversation with your friend, you want to power down your phones. Phones can be hacked when they're powered down. It's called smurfing it. I don't have it listed with me, but it's called smurfing the phone. It's an NSA tool that can literally go inside your phone, turn your mic with it still looking like it's off, basically. So always be mindful of your phone, where it's at, where the people you're talking to, where is their phone. If you're talking about conspiracy theories, you probably want to turn your phone off and put it in a completely different room because of key words. When you start saying a certain amount of words, It just puts you higher up on a watch list. Everybody's on a list now. It's just degrees of that list, almost like a social credit score in a sense. So that's that's the doctrine for your cell phone. Let's talk about it when you're at home. What you're going to do is you're going to boycott both Mac and Microsoft Windows, and you're going to switch to Linux. So why Linux? I'd like to read this. I didn't write this, so I'm not going to want to plagiarize. This was written, comes from a book called Linux Basics for Hackers. It's pretty cool. But I'd like to, okay, Linux is open source. Unlike Windows, Linux is open source, meaning that the source code of the operating system is available to you. As such, you can change and manipulate it as you please. If you are trying to make a system operate in ways it was not intended to, being able to manipulate the source code is essential. Okay, Linux is transparent. To hack effectively, you must know and understand your operating system and, to a large extent, the operating system you are attacking. Linux is totally transparent, meaning you can see and manipulate all its working parts. Not so with Windows. Microsoft tries hard to make it difficult as possible to know the inner workings of its operating system, so you never really know what's going on under the hood. Whereas in Linux, you have a spotlight shining directly on each and every component of the operating system. This makes working with Linux more effective. Okay, Linux offers granular control. Linux is granular. That means that you have an almost infinite amount of control over the system. In Windows, you can control only what Microsoft allows you to control. In Linux, everything can be controlled by the terminal at the most minuscule level or at the most macro level. In addition, Linux makes scripting in any of the scripting languages simple and effective. Most hacking tools are written in Linux. Well over 90% of all hacking tools are written for Linux. There are exceptions, of course, such as Enable and Wikto, but those exceptions prove the rule. Even when hacking tools such as Metasploit or Nmap are ported for Windows, not all the capabilities transfer from Linux. The future belongs to Linux and Unix. It might seem like a radical statement, but I firmly believe that the future of information technology belongs to Linux and Unix systems. Microsoft had its day in the 80s and 90s, but its growth is slowing and stagnating. Since the internet began, Linux/Unix has been the operating system of choice for web servers due to its stability, reliability, and robustness. I'm going to repeat that. Linux is the main operating system for most web servers. Even today, Unix is used in 2/3 of web servers and dominates the market. Embedded system and routers, switches, and other devices almost always use Linux kernel. And the world of virtualization is dominated by Linux, with both VMware and Citrix built on Linux kernel. Over 80% of mobile devices run Unix or Linux. iOS is Unix and Android is Linux. So if you believe that the future of computing lies in mobile devices such as tablets and phones, it would be hard to argue otherwise. Then the future is Unix and Linux. Microsoft Windows is just 7% of the mobile devices market. And that is the wagon you want to be hitched to? Question mark. So we're going to get, also it's more secure, Linux is, so, than Windows. Mac is secure, don't get me wrong, but Mac or Apple is a globalist company. You know what they're about. We're going to have to hit them in their pocketbooks. I don't like seeing these American companies suffer, but they need to, because as a customer, I don't want to be herded like a sheep on a bullshit pretext that is based on nothing but politics. What's the common denominator? Trump is not about globalization, which means, he's anti. Basically, there's this group of about 150 corporations run by the Anglo Empire that's being run out of the English crown. The English crown has subverted America for a long time. Deals were made; these were cut back in the day. That it's England and America has become one and the same. They're not separate. It's a Five Eyes system that really, if you look at the English Commonwealth countries like Canada, New England, Australia, there's common denominators. They want to de-arm the population, totally control the population. They don't give two shits about the citizenry. They just look at them as how to advance the empire. And you can't trust that. I don't trust them, and I do not like them. And this is our way of rounding it. So that's the presentation, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you got something from it. If you follow this, you will be able to avoid the COVID tracer, okay, or COVID tracker. I'm trying to make this PDF. I'll try to post it on Twitter. You can go to my site. Please subscribe to Ice Enterprises. Go to season 2 is already chronically. Season 1 is Subliminal Free Television. I'm also on BitChute as Ice Enterprise. I'm on Minds as Ice Enterprises. I'm on Twitter, 1776 and P6. We'll be coming back with another episode that I'm going to do on probably next week sometime on Ghislaine Maxwell or Ghislaine Maxwell, whatever. I'm going to be analyzing the photo, and I'm going to show you something that a lot of people are not talking about that I have noticed. That's going to give you a whole different insight on why she was under surveillance for as long as she was. They knew she was in Rhode Island somewhere. They knew exactly where she was the whole time, and it's based on that. I can prove it based on the picture. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Y'all take care. All right, guys. Peace.